is Stephen Trostrom of Misfit Studios, small press gaming publisher, and this is Misfit Marketing Methods, episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about social media, how to use it, which social media channels you should be using to begin with, how best to use them for promoting your products, for promoting your company, tools, the resources available, that sort of thing, techniques, and especially with a focus on small press publishing, self-publishing, and game publishers. So we are live on Facebook right now, so by all means throw me your questions. Speak up if you have anything you want to ask as we're going along. Otherwise, I'm going to record this and post it around afterwards, and feel free to comment in the respective comment sections. And especially, not just if you want to talk about what we're talking about here, you have questions about that or want clarification, but if you have anything you'd want me to talk about in future episodes. So let's jump right in. How does a game publishing company or a small press publisher use social media effectively as part of their content marketing plan or strategy? A lot of people think that you just sign up to whatever people are using, whatever you already have, create an account for your business, and just go shoot the shit. You go talk and say, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, blah 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 blah, and that is wrong. You need some kind of direction, you need some kind of plan, a strategy to follow in order to do effective content marketing, social media marketing. So that means you start off with understanding how social media works. Okay, social media in your day-to-day is about sharing cat videos, memes, talking politics or arguing politics, just sharing photos with your friends and all that kind of stuff, giving your opinions to people and just starting conversations. That's not how it works when you're doing it professionally. When you're doing it with a goal and objective in mind, a business objective, and keep in mind this is a business objective, then you've got to have a plan behind it. And that plan starts with, as I said, knowing which social media platforms to use. Now, ideally, whatever you go with, create business accounts. Don't use your personal account, because then your personal gets muddied with your professional. And I say this with the caveat that I have a couple of social media accounts where I intermingle them, where I use my personal account for my publishing purposes and the like. And that's I do that on purpose because I know what I'm doing with social media, that I can create a distinction. And frankly, because I'm a loudmouth, I'm known as a bit of a loudmouth in the gaming industry to anyone who knows me, and I'm very opinionated. So I'm not too concerned about separating my business from my personal, because I do that anyways. It's just something that I am not concerned with regards to my business. But for the average person, I would suggest separating business from personal, and run your business accounts separately. So to Facebook, to Twitter, whatever. And most social media accounts are very good with that, especially if you have your own website and your own web account. So you have email that is tailored to it's using your company's website URL. So that makes it very easy. So with that in mind, how do you choose which social media to use? Don't just go with what's trendy. Don't just go, well, everybody's talking about the tweets, let's use the Twitter. Bad idea. The thing to keep in mind about social media is they're not all identical. And that may seem like it's an obvious point, but a lot of people just don't really let that sink in. And I'm not just talking about how you use them. I'm talking about the resources they make available, the limitations they have, the functionality they have, but also the communities that they foster, and how people, the audience you're trying to reach, how they use that particular social media platform. So for example, Facebook is a great catch-all. And I'm not just saying that because we're doing Facebook Live. It's a great catch-all because it makes distinctions between actual functional and operational distinctions between your personal page, a page you can have separately as as I wouldn't say celebrity, but as a role as a person who's a writer or an artist or a game publisher, which is, you can create that separately from your publisher, and then your personal page. And then you can have a page for your company. And all of these have different functions. You can also have group discussion pages. And they all work differently, but they can be tied into one account. So if you're in your personal account, you can access your company page, you can access your group pages, you can access everything else that you've created, and you can switch between identities, which is really great. So if I'm logged into Steven Trust Room, I'm looking at my personal page, I'm like, oh, you know, I forgot, gotta go remind people that I've got a Facebook Live post tonight. I just hop over to that page, and it automatically assumes that I'm in Misfit Studios mode. So when I post there, it posts me as Misfit Studios. I can change it so I can post to Steven Trust Room there, but it's good that it automatically makes that switch. It assumes that if you're there as a person who owns that, who's an admin there, that you want to post in a professional capacity. So that's the default. Hold on, I'm just going to have a sip of my tasty beverage. If you don't have one, go get a cool, frosty, tasty beverage for yourself as well. It's always a must. So that's great. Now, the thing is that a lot of companies that have been around for a while have group discussion pages on Facebook, and that's where they've been representing themselves professionally. The problem with group discussion pages for a professional purpose is that you have very limited access to the business-oriented tools that Facebook has made available to you that you get when you have a company page. So if you're still using a group discussion page, because that's what you started with, that's because it was like I believe it was the first post personal page rollout they did, then the first add-on in that regard before business pages. I could be wrong, but I think it was that first. So a lot of people who were early adapters to Facebook jumped on that with good reason, because it had its purpose at that time. But think about how it works now. When you have a business page on Facebook, you can create events. You can do the live streaming directly into a video feed, which, you do have a video feed. You have a video section where people can go and do this. You have control over the different sections that display. Do you want a promotion page? Do you want a sales page? Do you want a contact page? You've got all these different options that are very, very business focused, including what they call insights, which are analytics. And this will let you tell what the reach of your posts are. Reach is basically how many eyes are on your Facebook post. Not all social media platforms measure this the same and consider it the same. So reach is if somebody has your post in their news feed, or they've come and seen it on your page. It's been on their screen basically, and it registers that it's been displayed. It's not a guarantee that it's actually been looked at, read, or anyone's paid attention to it. So keep that in mind. Reach, although giving a measure of how many people potentially did I just make up a word? Potentially are looking at your content on Facebook, it's not an exact measurement. That brings us to engagement. Engagement is things like likes, clicks, views. It's basically people interacting with your posts on Facebook. So in combination with reach, you look at your engagement. If you have high reach and high engagement, then you can usually say, okay, I'm probably getting a lot of views where people aren't actually clicking on the content, but they're reading it because it's a high reach and it's a high engagement. If you got low reach but high engagement, you're like, okay, it's not really getting to a lot of people, but the people it's getting to really seem to like it and interact it, so I got to figure out a way to get this out to more people. And if you've got a low reach and a low engagement, then you really got to rethink what you're doing. Try something new. Obviously, just by the fact of what I'm doing here, I am doing video broadcasting as a way to not just, as altruistic as I would like to present myself, I do like to inform people and share my expertise with regards to marketing. There's the insidious secondary purpose of bringing traffic to the Misfit Studios webpage by hosting this there, and then taking the recording, putting it on YouTube, which I can then share through Twitter, whatever. And this is all, it'll all bring traffic in. And this is a good point, is that video is what's really hot right now. People like video, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. A lot of studies into social media traffic shows that video is good because people at work will just play it in the background, so they'll listen to it as opposed to watching it. Or conversely, they will watch it and read it with the sound off so that nobody hears them. It's not making noise. This is why there's value to putting subtitles on your videos. It's a huge pain in the ass. It really is. Any auto subtitle software that you use, including the stuff that comes with, that is YouTube friendly and so forth, it's a good starting point because it if you use the good stuff, it'll sync up with what's being said, but you have to go back and edit the text. Like, you'll get crazy things. When I my first content management job, part of my job was to handle case studies where we would send videographers out to clients, and they would say, you know, this is our success story, this is how great my employer's services helped them, yada yada yada. And then I would get the video together, cut it, get ready to put it up on YouTube, and, you know, push it out through our website. But I also had to subtitle it all, and that was my afternoon, because that's how much of a pain in the butt it is to subtitle. But if you really want to maximize your ability to reach your audience, it's worth it. I don't do it because it's just, I don't have the time. But if you do have the time, you have the resources, subtitle your videos just so you can get both aspects of that, you know, reading but not listening, or instead of just listening but not watching, or, you know, watching and listening. So that's video, and Facebook does allow you to post videos from other sources, you know, recorded independently as opposed to just Facebook Live. So that's great. Twitter has, since it's merged with Periscope, now allows you to do video directly as opposed to attaching it. So that's also good. You can't really do a lot with long videos. You can, you know, they have that whole trim thing. They really want you to keep it short. That's when you load a video onto Twitter, you go to trim it, and the bar is kind of like in the middle, and it doesn't reach to the full extent unless it's like a really brief video, like 15 seconds. But say it's 45 seconds, it's kind of like right there, and you can see the ends, and you can stretch it there so it'll show your whole 45-second video. But they really don't want you to do that. They're kind of saying, you know, keep it short, because, you know, Twitter is the social media platform for short, brief, direct messages. So you got to stay focused on there with your video as well as your character usage. So I'll talk more about that in a second. So that's Facebook. Facebook is also great because it uses hashtags, and that is great for expanding your audience. I'll talk about hashtags later, so just keep in mind Facebook hashtags. It's also really easy to share your content. You can share to groups you are a member of. You can share to pages you control. So I can, if I post something on my personal Facebook page, I can share it to my Misfit Studios page directly without having to copy and paste. And the great thing about sharing is that if you make a mistake in your original message, then changing it in the original, it pushes through to what's been shared. Whereas if you copy and paste, you've got to go back and edit every single thing. So for example, when I posted, you know, Misfit Studios, Misfit Marketing Methods, episode 2 tonight at 8 o'clock, you know, that's in a half hour, be there. I would then share that to I post it on the Misfit Studios page, share it to my personal page, and then I shared it to like a tabletop game publishing group for a Facebook group. And I can do that all from my business page. So it makes sharing really easy. The insights are great. It's just a great resource. Facebook is perhaps my personal favorite social media platform just because of the utility you get out of it, and the mass of people on it, and the fact that there's so many groups that you can share your content into. So also there's a great representation for other companies. And if you're a game publisher like I am, where you do a lot of licensed game use, you know, I don't have Misfit Studios doesn't have an in-house game system of its own, so we do a lot of stuff with like Pathfinder, Savage Worlds licensing, that sort of thing. It really allows me to plug into those other groups. So you really got to think about that sort of stuff when you're choosing your social media channels. Twitter is another popular one. Obviously, you're limited to the amount of characters you can use, so you have to have a really good focus on your message. Don't babble when you're on Facebook or on Twitter, which is really, you know, me saying not to babble. You know, be very distinct. Keep in mind that you don't just want the message; you want some really key hashtags in there, maybe a video, but you also want a link. Now, links can be huge. They can take up a lot of your space on Twitter. So I suggest you use a tiny URL system. There's, you know, just Google like short URL or making URLs tiny. Google something like that. And there's a couple of services that do this. When you post on LinkedIn, it automatically shrinks the URL, that sort of thing. But Twitter doesn't. So if you have a URL that's 120 characters, that's 120 characters of your character limit gone. So you have to shrink those URLs. And there's a couple of cheats you can use with Twitter to extend your message. Post an accompanying image, and you can put text on the image. You can't use hashtags in it because Twitter doesn't read any text that's on the image. For as much as it's concerned, the words are the same as any other part of the image. So, you know, keep any long messaging on that image, and then use the character limits within the Twitter message itself for hashtags, or calling out if you want to use another person's Twitter account and put it in, like say I post a product on RPG Now or Drive-Thru, then I would say this product is available at Drive-Thru RPG, which then therefore lets that RPG Now's account know that, hey, I'm waving at you, I'm indicating you, and then they can go, oh, let's see what you're posting. Okay, you're talking about a product that's being published on our page. Yeah, I'll retweet that. And that lets you give them the option to allow you access to their followers, because my personal account has like 40 something followers, which is not really that high. So I rely on people to spread my messages when I use Twitter. So if I'm posting something, if I'm posting a new product on Drive-Thru, by tagging the Drive-Thru Twitter account, it's usually a 50-50 shot that they'll do it. So I look at how many people viewed it, and I'm like, okay, there's 26 people have viewed it, so maybe half, a little over half my followers have seen this tweet. And then I'll see, Drive-Thru RPG has retweeted you. And then all of a sudden I have 1,000 to 2,000 views, and then likes and retweets and that sort of thing. So again, I'll get into more into sharing on as we go along. So if another little cheat is that you can reply to your own tweets and include additional hashtags and other account callouts in your reply. Because when you reply, it shows what you're replying to. So it'll have like your reply message with all your hashtags, and then underneath it is the box showing your original message. So even people who are clicking on the hashtags that are in your reply will still be exposed to your original message. So that's another little cheat. It lets you get more characters than the original tweet lets you use. You got to be careful with it. You don't want to overdo it, because some people, although you're kind of gaming the system on Twitter when you do that. Some people are really like sticklers for social media etiquette, and it'll be like, oh, you're replying to your own just to cheat, and oh, I'm not following you anymore. You're not really doing anything wrong, but you're breaking the hard line etiquette rules. So, don't overdo it. Don't spam every single hashtag you could possibly think of that is even remotely related to your product. Still keep a focus, stay economical with your hashtag use. Okay, and that brings us from Twitter. Let's talk about Google+. I know it's supposed to have died off a lot, but there's still some discussion groups going on. There's some pretty solid RPG groups that go on. Your basic company page is probably not going to get a lot of followers. There's some companies that do get a lot, like the big ones or the more renowned ones, like what I like to call the first tier and second tier publishing companies in the gaming industry. Those people can get a pretty decent following. But for the most part, the people who are on Google Plus are following groups. They're following discussion groups. So like they're following the Pathfinder discussion group or the general role-playing discussion groups, things like that. So Google Plus allows you to post, and then you can, if you're a member of those groups, you can quickly, change the group you're posting to without going into that group directly. Like you can go to that group and post directly, but you can all do it from your home page. You just change it, boom, boom, boom. Google Plus is also good because it allows you to use images. You can attach videos. The comments are really, it's intuitive. It follows in a progression. I should say also Twitter. Twitter has likes and retweets and all that stuff. So Google Plus also has likes and sharing functions and things like that. And it has hashtag use. It's not as extensive or as frequently used as you see on Twitter. Twitter is the really big hashtag site. Facebook, some people use them, some people don't. But on G Plus, you don't really see a lot. I use it, but not a lot of people do. So Google Plus is still pretty good for contacting the market directly. Just don't think that you're getting a lot of mileage out of your company's homepage. One of the big advantages out of Google Plus is that it's directly linked to your Google account. So if you're using analytics, AdWords, and all that, you can log in once and you get access to all these things simultaneously. But, and this has been measured, people have done studies on this, content you put up on Google Plus is a hard line, straight shot into Google indexing. Google spiders its own networks faster than it spiders others. Who knew? Yeah, so if you post something on Google Plus, it's more likely to get picked up than if you like even posted the same content to Twitter earlier. Google Plus, faster into indexing. So keep that in mind. If you're not using Google Plus for anything else, use it if you want to get your links to your content indexed fast. Beyond that, you have things like Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram is another hashtag user. Those are very visually oriented, though. There's not a lot of interaction. It's usually like people tend to share more for gaming. Like you can interact. People can comment. You're always hearing about how celebrities get these comments on their Instagram accounts. Okay, not so much with gaming. And I find that Instagram and Pinterest have their uses if you really want to push them, but they're not. There's not a lot you can do with them because they're so visually oriented. And like I said, unless you're including messages on the image, you can be like, "Here's the new art that's coming out for our game," but you're really limited to what you can push that back to. It's your image goes viral. So if it's great, but the context kind of gets lost the more it gets pushed out, especially when Pinterest and people pin it to their walls. Unless people really backtrack, that context isn't carried forward that it's from your role-playing game. It's carried forward that, hey, this person likes to collect pictures of Minotaur, so they took that Minotaur picture from your new game and pinned it to their wall. So someone's going to go through and see 50 pictures of Minotaurs, and they might go, I like that, but the chances are they're not going to backtrack it. So if you are using Instagram and Pinterest, I strongly suggest you, A, brand all your images, put your company's logo and website onto them, so that if these do get boom, boom, boom knocked down, and when someone's scanning those 50 images of Minotaurs and they see yours, your logo and your URL are there. Okay, so it's up front. If you've got any important messages, like keep it brief, but put something like, for the upcoming game, blah, 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 put that on your image as well. You have to be a little creative with that. You kind of have to hold people's hand on Instagram and Pinterest to kind of get them to follow you back if you want to get any mileage in marketing terms from those platforms. What else are the big ones? Let's talk about Reddit. What's to say about Reddit? Misfit Studios has a Reddit on Reddit, and it doesn't really do anything. Reddit is heavily driven by discussion. All people do is discuss things there. So keep that in mind. The one thing they don't want to discuss is your game's ad. No, you don't go to the Savage Worlds forum, or the Savage Worlds forum, it's old speak. You don't go to the Savage Worlds Reddit and start talking about, hey, here's my new game. Come check it out, and post links. People will start downvoting you. And this is the thing on Reddit. They upvote you if they like, they downvote it if they don't like it. And you'll get downvoted fast if all you're doing is posting information about your product and a link to your product. You might even get removed by the moderator because you're not really participating in the discussion, which is what that community about Reddit is all about. I remember I was saying that each social media platform has a different type of community built around it. So that's people who want to go there and talk. They don't want to see your ads. So what I would suggest if you're going to use Reddit and are prepared for people really enjoying their anonymity and just tearing into you and saying nasty things to you a lot, be smart, be tactical about how you use Reddit. Keep in mind, discussion. So don't just go and post a link and post information about it that you would put on your product's product description page on a storefront. What you want to do is, in my mind, one of the best uses you can get out of it is when you're building a product, is you start saying, hey, this is something I've got coming out in, say, 4 months. And this is the mechanic I'm doing. And here's the setting. What do you guys like to see? We're thinking of putting this mechanic into Pathfinder. It's a new magic system, or it's a new way to do psychic abilities. What do you guys think? You guys, you want to talk about it? Give me some ideas. Give me some feedback. Hey, by the way, you want to participate in a play test? Maybe I should post some mechanics here and get your guys' opinion. So you can use that to start building up discussion on Reddit. Get some interest going, and then when your product comes out, you can actually organically within that discussion say, hey guys, the stuff we've been talking about for the past 3 months, well, it's finally out on the market. Here's where you can go buy it. See if I did good by it. See how much I listened to you. Here's the end product that our discussion so far has been leading to. So Reddit is a bit of a workhorse. You have to, and by that I mean you have to be a workhorse to get it to work. You have to go there and really participate. It's not like just a drop off and run away type of social media platform. So keep that in mind if you want to use it. Let's see. Let's talk about, in general, how you should be using your social media, because I've kind of alluded to it when I've been talking about different things. One of the reasons that Reddit is difficult to really get some good marketing mileage out of, and I'm not saying it doesn't have different uses other than marketing. You know, it can have other uses for a game company beyond marketing itself. One of the reasons it is difficult is because it's discussion oriented. It is very an ongoing process, and when social media works best for a content marketing purpose, a social media marketing purpose, it's when you're using it. I like to phrase it this way: all that traffic you want to get, all those people you want coming to your website, think of them as fish out in the ocean, okay? And your company, your website, your products, they're the boat, and you're in that boat. You're trying to get those fish to the boat. So using social media is you casting your net out into that waters. So if you are just putting stuff out there and discussing it on social media, you've got your net in the water, but you're not pulling that net back. So none of the fish are coming into the boat. The proper way to use social media for marketing purposes is to use the social media platforms to access your audience. It's your inroad. It's your foot in the door, okay? But you still got to go through that door, or you got to, better yet, you got to pull the audience through the door to your side. So you get their interest there. You start the discussion there, but you always have to bring it back to an endpoint, to an objective. That could be your website. You know, like, hey, we're having this talk in our company's website, web forum. You know, come here. Come see what our latest blog entry is. Boom. Bring it back to your blog. Never, ever, ever go into social media with the intention of that conversation happening on social media and staying there. Because what good is that doing you? Sure, you have the chance of sharing and liking and all that stuff, but it's not pulling to an objective. There's no endpoint for that. There's no end game. Okay? So social media should be the handshake. And then it goes somewhere. So when you do a product announcement, you use it as a teaser. Hey, here's this great new product we've got. You know, it lets you do this. Give a benefit statement, you know, why this is a great product, why people should enjoy it. Then provide a link to that product. You know, you want them going there. And you don't want them to learn everything about your product directly from your social media posts. Don't post your product description on social media. Because what incentive do they have unless they're just going, hey, this is great, I'm going to make a purchase right now. They have no incentive to follow your link to your product. And if you're smart, when they follow your link to your product, you're also putting other product in front of them. You know, they go to your product, and then there's the, if you're interested in this, you might also want this. You know, those type of bars framed around it. You've got something else going on your end game. Can't do that if you're keeping them on social media and you're giving them all the information there. So social media has to tease. It has to, you know, get people interested, but you have to provide the incentive for them to follow you and convert, in marketing lingo, to your objective. Okay? So there's a phrase that I like that was told to me by one of my former employees. He used it a lot. Is social media is about the leads, not the likes. Likes are great. Likes are great for letting you know, a general feeling for the temperature in your audience. You know, are people liking this? Is it good? Are people paying attention? But likes are not sales. They are not traffic to your website. They are not people going to your objectives. They're liking it and poof, smoke. Okay? You have to turn them into a lead. You have to at least, if you can't convert them into a sale, convert them into a lead. Get them going to your objective. So in Facebook, use video to get people interested. Hey, here's this great product I released. It's going to do this for you. It's going to do this for you. It's going to do this for you. Look in the comments. I've added the link. Get over there and buy it. You know, you got to do something like that. You don't sit there and go, here's absolutely everything about my product. Now that I've told you, spent 20 minutes telling you about my product, you've no reason to go look at it because right from watching this video, you've decided whether or not you want to buy it. You've been as informed as you could possibly be. And I really hope you go. You know, you don't really have to go check out more information. So please do it. You gotta incentivize them to go and go to your endpoint. So for Twitter, that's why I was saying Twitter is really good because you keep a focused message. Twitter will not allow you to dump your product information into it. There's not enough character space. So it can be a frustrating social media platform, but it's a great tool for teaching people how to be very economical with their words, because you just can't get a lot of words in there. So your message on Twitter really has to grab people. It's really, don't focus on information, focus on attention with Twitter. Okay, so that's the big thing. Don't try to inform them so much, like inform them in the sense like when I post to Twitter about this, hey, it's at 8 o'clock. You got to be there. It's on my Facebook Live site, so you got to go to my Misfit Studios webpage. But, I don't spend a lot of time going, and this is what I'm going to be talking about, and this is what it will do for you, and yada, yada, yada. Okay? It's your call to action. It's your message. It's your clickbait. Think of it as clickbait. You want a clickbait post on Twitter. It'll if you're using it effectively, it'll own your skills, because you have to keep your message short on Twitter. You don't have any recourse. And take what you learn from that and roll it out to other social media platforms, even though they give you more leniency and more content. So, and if you look at the Misfit Studios page, if you scroll down and you look at product releases, you'll see they're pretty brief. There'll be things like, we do a Strange Brew line, Christina Stiles publishes through Misfit Studios, that she arranges the whole product. She gets the artists, she gets the writers to do it. Sometimes I do layout for her when she can't get her regular layout person to do it. But generally she just goes, here's a product, Steve, and it's branded, because she and I have had such a long relationship that she sells under the Misfit Studios banner. But I have no input into product creation or anything. She's just like, here's a product, put it up for sale. And it's usually, market it for me, Steve. And that's where, I earn my money on that part is. And so there's no marketing message. And if you go down, you'll see it. I just say, hey, if you Strange Brew magic items, if you're playing a witch or a witch hunter, this has got the arsenal, this is the stuff in the arsenal that you want to have. This stuff is built for you. And then I don't go into an itemized list of what's in the book. I want to say it's witch oriented, it's great for building your arsenal, and that's kind of the limits of the message I want. It's short, sweet, and then I put in the hashtags and everything. So it's all pushing towards that, Strange Brew magic items storefront page then. And the shorter the trip between your social media post and your endpoint, the better. Because every step along the way is another chance for somebody to just get bored and walk away. People are they want instant gratification. So Misfit Studios has a blog. I don't really use it that much anymore. But what I would not do, especially now as social media has become more prevalent, and because I used to do this on the blog, is I would not post something about, hey, Strange Brew, magic items, great, go read more on my blog, and then the blog then goes to the storefront, because I'm saying, read this, to know to read this, to go to buy this. There's an unnecessary step in there. So it's just straight from social media to the storefront, okay? Keep that path, like I said, if you're talking, in marketing, it's called the conversion funnel. Wide at the top, and it narrows down, as you go along. And it's basically saying, people are dropping out as it goes down. Your potential to get them into a sale narrows the longer they go down the funnel. So you want the short, sweet funnel, get them to where they can make a sale. And by sale, it's, whatever your objective is. If you want them to, for example, watch your Facebook Live broadcast, then that's your sale. Okay, that's what I'm leading towards. So whatever your end game is, you want to keep that on a short trip. Now let's talk about how you represent your social media on your website, because that's also an important aspect of how you use social media effectively. God, I'm saying I'm a lot. Sorry, I'm a little tired today. A 4-year-old will do that. Will wear you out and wake you up in the middle of the night. So forgive me if I'm umming a lot. So how your website interacts with social media is incredibly important, in that you want direct channels between your content and your social media. So if you've got product descriptions on your website, or you've got a blog, or basically anything you want people to socialize from your website, on those pages where you want something a little bit more, like socialization is not your end game. If it's a product page, you want people to also then go on to buy. But you're like, hey, if you want to share this with other people so that they'll come by and make a purchase, that's great. You want to restrict the socialization options to things like retweet, like, follow, those type of things, okay? Where they're interacting directly with the content on your page, and the social media is kind of, it's kind of diverted into your page. It's incorporated into it, so they can do things with social media platforms without leaving that page. So they can like it, they can retweet it, and the little window pops up, and boom, 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 they type it out, and then when they say tweet, it goes away, and they're still on your page. That's what you want to do, okay? Because then when they're done that, they go and make the purchase from your page. Now, if you have visible, like easily visible on your website at this time, click here for our Facebook page. Click here for Twitter. You're giving them the option to go off of that page where you're making a sale. Like, that's your goal, is to get them there where they can buy. But you're giving them an option to go whoop somewhere else. Social media should be leading to that content. It should be leading to that purchase. It should not be leading away. So you want to keep on your objective pages, so your landing pages, your content pages, like your blog, your product pages, you want things like click here to go to our Facebook page. You want them obscure. You want them somewhere like in the footer, beneath the content. You do not want them prominent. Okay, you do not want them to be the first thing they see in your header. Like right there, boom. Because why do you want to get them to your web page? To send them elsewhere, right? It's like you've got the fish in the net, you pulled them in the boat, and then you're just like, go back, little fish, and you're throwing them back in the water. All right, so very, very, very important. Okay, if you want to get people to go off to your Facebook page, your Twitter page, or whatever, be very strategic about how you place those links on your page. You can make them obscure. If you're going to put them in the top, put them to the right. Think about how people read when they come into your website. They start in the top left and start going down. Your banner should hopefully drag them down, or a menu should drag them down, so their eyes will come down from the top left and move across the page into your content. Which means if you have those social media links in your upper right, a person's eye should be drawn down and underneath it. So they're easily found if someone wants specifically to go looking for them, but they're not going to interrupt the eye flow when traffic comes to your website. And this is what we've done on the Misfit Studios page. They're represented by little icons in the upper right page. It's not like go here to see us on Facebook or anything like that. It's specifically icons in the upper right page beneath, ahead of the banner. So people come in, they see not the banner, the menu, and then there's a product listing down the left and our main content down the right with an image. And the image is put there because it's hopeful, it drags the eye. Okay, so you got to think about website design with social media placement. Okay, it's very important. Think about where it's. If you can't afford to do A/B testing, just ask some people and say, can you show me where you're looking, and just ask their opinions and see if the social media links are jumping out at them. And then you can use something like add this, where you have the follow, the likes, and all that. They can be as prominent as you want, because no matter how much people interact with them, they're still staying on your page. Okay? So if you have any questions about that, please leave it in the comments. Please email me, trustrum@misfitstudios.com, or misfit-studios.com. And it's something that a lot of people, it seems like it's common sense, but a lot of people have confusion with it, or they just don't get the placement right. So that handles how to do that on your content. Now let's talk about, let's talk about hashtags. Hashtags are very important for expanding your audience. If you don't find ways to expand your audience and inject your social media, your posts beyond your following, you're not going to get any mileage out of social media. You're not going to monetize it at all. All right? You have to find a way to plug yourself in to social media networking. That's why it's a network. Okay, you have to learn how to network. Think of it in traditional terms of network, where people go to meetings, and then like salespeople get there and talk, and they trade cards. You have the hashtags are the card trading. They're the people. There's the people going to shared interest discussions about the same kind of thing. So This is why it's good when you have social media platforms that use mechanics like hashtags, okay, or like Tumblr, like tags, something that presents a word that if you click on it, it then gives you similar posts from other people that are also using that keyword. So hashtags work on Facebook, Google+, on Instagram, and on Twitter, obviously. Those are ones where it's really big, and I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember if any others, but I'm sure they do. Then they change. Some have added them, like Facebook didn't always use hashtags. LinkedIn lets you put hashtags in, but it's kind of like, does it work? Not really. It gets turned off. It's not worth it on LinkedIn. And just as an aside for a second, LinkedIn also is not the greatest way to plug into a consumer audience. It's very much business to business. It's for talking to your peers, for drumming up contacts and that sort of thing. But do not really rely on LinkedIn, even if you're a member of like groups that are related to gaming and stuff like that. Don't rely on it for monetization. It's really difficult to squeeze pennies out of LinkedIn, and there's better uses for time. And that's why it's very important to choose your social media platforms and channels very strategically, because your time is valuable. Okay, and you should be customizing your messages to each community and each platform separately. What the post that works on Facebook isn't necessarily going to work on Google+, because the communities work differently, as I explained earlier. The functionality is different, and it's certainly not going to work on Twitter because of the character limit. So just keep that in mind. So with hashtags, you should do some research in it. Don't just throw out any hashtag. It comes to mind, there's a gentleman in a Google Plus community that I was talking with, was it earlier this week or late last week? Anyways, recently, and he was asking questions about how to use social media for his Kickstarter. He's kickstarting a game. And he's talking about all these ways that he's been doing things. He's been going on, I think it was like podcasts and stuff like that. He's doing all these things for getting word out about it. And he says, I'm really, can anybody have any tips about social media? And he listed the I put in some input and he told me the hashtags he was using. Now, the hashtags he used were very specific to his game, which is great if you're trying to create a brand. You've got that power where you can create a hashtag and hope it catches on. But generally speaking, especially for like a niche market, like role-playing games, creating a hashtag is not going to really work for you well. Because what a hashtag is good for is getting people to click on it and seeing what people are using it for. So on Twitter, for example, I use social media marketing hashtag. So if somebody clicks on that, they're going to see all these people who are talking about social media marketing, not necessarily about gaming, because the focus of this video is social media marketing. And the context is in the role-playing game industry. So, they might come by and go, well, he has some things to say about what's this gaming. They have no idea what the gaming industry is because they're all about social media marketing. So it creates a context that you have to be aware of. So when you create hashtags, say you have a setting book called Caranthia. So you create the hashtag Caranthia. Great for branding. Nobody's going to use it, right? Because the only place they're going to see it is in your posts. And if they're seeing it in your posts, you don't have to worry about them coming from elsewhere to your posts. You see what I'm saying? It's just you're wasting space. Once like you start getting discussion that rolls out, and you've got some brand power, like Dungeons and Dragons. People who aren't gamers, Dungeons and Dragons is synonymous with role playing. They think it's one and the same. Everybody's had that experience where you're like, oh, I play role playing games. And everyone's like, oh, you mean Dungeons and Dragons? To people who aren't gamers, Dungeons and Dragons means every role-playing game in existence. So if you use the hashtag Dungeons and Dragons, you might have people who are in different markets using it. It's a powerful brand. There's some use to that. But for Caranthia, no, it's a waste. What you need is things like that other people are going to be looking into. So there's like the RPG hashtag, role-playing games hashtag, okay, Pathfinder RPG hashtag, Savage Worlds hashtag. Because Savage Worlds is a system. And a lot of people license it under that. So some people might be like, oh, I really enjoy the core rules. What else is under this? They click on the Savage Worlds hashtag on Twitter, and they'll be brought, they'll be shown a bunch of tweets from, the PEG who created Savage Worlds or published it, excuse me, but also from all these third-party licensees like myself who are also putting product out. So that's how a hashtag works effectively. You've got to be plugging into an established audience. People have to be using it. So my response to this gentleman was, the reason these aren't working is because they're only specific to you. One of the hashtags, I think, was just like, it was being used really, really minimally by other people, but for an entirely different purpose, because it kind of had like a dual meaning. So people would click on it and be like, what is this stuff? They wouldn't go to his stuff because it's unrelated to what they're talking about, right? So if you use a hashtag that you think, well, this is really related to my game, but then you find out that everybody else who's using the hashtag is using it in the context of talking about a pickup truck, you're going to have a bunch of people who are, looking for pickup truck information going, why the hell what's this role-playing game stuff? It's like, what is this, elves and dragons? What does this have to do with pickup trucks? So you're not going to get any traffic out of that. So you have to use stuff that makes sense for your purposes. It has to exist within the context you want it. So that means research. And I'm going to give you a free tool to research hashtags. It's called hashtagify.me, M-E. You go there, you put in your hashtag, and I've talked about this in other videos. It gives you graphic representations of who's using it, and it also tells you other hashtags that are being used in relation to it. So it's not just when you go with this hashtag, it's not just giving you information about that. It's giving you ideas about other hashtags you might want to look into and research. It tells you who the most most prolific influencers on it, who's using it the most, and how the what kind of business they are and who their followers are. So that gives you an idea of not just what you're competing against, but also if it's being used in the same context as you. So in this hashtag example, you're like, wow, great. Like basically the graphic representation is it's a circle around your hashtag. The bigger the circle, the more it's used. So you want a big circle. So you're like, holy crap, that's a really big circle around this hashtag. Yeah, that must work. But then when you go check on the influencers, it's showing you it's all pickup truck enthusiasts, like people who do sporting pickup trucks and pickup truck manufacturers. So you're like, oh, it's a big circle, but it's crap because nobody in my market is using it. It's just being used by a lot of people who like to drive pickup trucks. And it assigns a percentage rating to it too, as well. So hashtagify.me is a great tool, and it's free. Create an account. If you create an account, the added functionality is that you can save your hashtags. So you can create a library there. I can't recommend it enough. So that's the gist of hashtags. I can answer more specific questions if anybody wants to post them, but you really have to wrap your head around this fact of, do research, do some work, find out what is good to plug into the audience you want to, especially if you're a small press company and nobody knows you. Like creating a hashtag out of your company name is largely worthless, because if they knew to click on if they knew who you were, they wouldn't need the hashtag. You know what I mean? And it's not going to, because you're so small, it's not like people are dragging this hashtag around and retweeting it or sharing it or whatever and taking it out into the world for you. You need to develop your audience first before that can happen. And when you've got that audience, then you can create Caranthia, the hashtag, and hope that your audience will share it, and that's how it goes viral. There has to be an interest outside of your direct audience that you can then put that hashtag and say, hey, you're interested in this sort of thing. This hashtag addresses that interest. Start using it, because the rest of us are. Join in that conversation. So a hashtag is like a miniature community even. So I guess that's really just the basics of social media marketing for a small press publisher in that context. I don't know what else I have to say about it. Well, actually, no, let's talk about shares a bit. Shares are great. You want to encourage people to share. It's outside of the whole likes not leads thing. Like, getting likes is great for measuring engagement, how much interest people have, but you can't really do anything with it. Like, a like is static. It just stays there, and it shows people who get to the post that it's popular. It's a popularity measure. And it's not necessarily a really accurate popularity measure, because you can have a truly apathetic audience. They love what you're doing, but they're just kind of like, I don't really want to, it's, I have to move my hand over there and click the mouse to show that I like this. So anybody who's a publisher will know, it is a job in and of itself to get people to review product. Well, the same is with likes. People can be very selfish and just say, I like it, I know I like it, I don't need to tell the world I like it. So don't be too concerned about likes. They're great, but they're not your focus. Shares, on the other hand, you want people to like it enough that they share it with other people. That's another way how you expand your audience beyond the hashtag use, is you encourage people to share it. Like I'm going to say right now, if you like this video, share it with your friends, okay? Share it around, share it. Get them to come back to the Misfit Studios page, share it. That's what you want. That's why everyone goes, this is going viral. You know, think about what that means. It's spreading, it's getting shared. That's where it matters. That's why you talk when people say, you know, this YouTube video has been shared 500,000 times. You know, that's what's important. That's what comes out of their mouth first, because that's where the value is. That's the most accurate representation of marketing value, is in those shares. So you really want to get people to share this stuff, and that should be the focus of your social media efforts on page. Aside from getting them to go to your objective, their interaction, you want them to view your videos, yes, but you want them to share. Oh yeah, I also said I was going to talk about videos. So videos are great because they're really popular right now, but keep it short and sweet. Other than this thing where I'm actually, you know, the video is the purpose. If you're using your video to drive towards something else, then you want to keep it short. 15 seconds is good. After 15 seconds, 15 to 30 seconds, the traffic really starts to just drop off. So don't be overly verbose in your video really front end the imperative information. And again, brand. When I'm done this video, I'm going to download it, brand it, put my URL on it, so the URL will be here on the bottom of the screen as people are watching it on YouTube. That way, no matter where they share it, if they share it away where the original text that goes on YouTube, you know, this is what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. If that's not visible, my URL is visible no matter where it's shared to. If someone's watching the video, my URL is there. My branding at the beginning and at the end of the video is there. So brand your videos. Short and sweet is the best. That being said, I think we're done with social media for today. If I think of anything that's worth talking about for a second part, because again, I've talked about some stuff extensively, but I'm not going to cover everything. It's, you know, there's a lot of really, when you drill down, there's a lot of really fine techniques and very specific techniques for specific situations. So this is the more general stuff. But if you have questions that you want me to drill down on that stuff, by all means, post them in the comments, email me, and I'll address them some other way. Other than that, this has been episode 2 of Misfit Marketing Methods. We're talking about social media for small press publishers and gaming publishers. I hope you get some value out of this. Share, comment, like, and then turn it into a lead. And we'll see what I come back and talk about next time in episode 3. Everyone have a good night. Enjoy your Thursday.